Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking the video. It means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And as I'm reading this, all of the Survivor 42 EW bios have been released yesterday, as well as a few video interviews for some players. And after reading through all the bios for two separate videos and a podcast, as well as off the air several times, I'm not that impressed, to be honest. I think this cast, to me, with the exception of a few players, seems to be mostly unlikable, with it also being very obvious who was casted to be a gamebot, who was casted to be a pre-merge flameout, and who was casted just because they fit the archetype or demographic. And so with what seems to be a repeat of 41 incoming, I think it's fair to ask, is the Survivor 42 cast the worst ever? Today's video is sponsored by no one, because life isn't fair, but it should be sponsored by the 6% of you guys who are watching this and subscribe. That's right, 94% of you guys who are watching these videos are not subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. And if that's it, let's get right into the video. So I think the main problem with this cast is their unlikability factor. And if you don't know what I mean by that, let's just look at what these people had to say in their EW bios and what they told production before the game started about how they want to play the game, who they are, or where they come from. So the first thing is the repetitive sob stories, and this is something that we see we saw a lot in 41, but this is really a whole nother level. And some of you may be saying, "Oh, well, Spencer, it really isn't that big of a deal." No, you don't understand. Let me just run through these quotes of people talking about their horrible and awfully repetitive and losing their meaning after the 8th time sob stories. It gets really like it's hilarious, honestly. Not because the stories are hilarious, but because after the 8th time of hearing that somebody's cat jumped into a fire and then their whole family dived in to save the cat and they all died, it's just like after a while these stories lose their significance and their power, and I feel like, to me, it's not really good for the show. All right, first person. So this person said, it was asked, who is their hero and why? They say, my mom, no question. She had grace until the end. Her faith was unmatched. She was an awesome person, not just a mother, but as a whole. I can only strive to be half the person she was. Next quote, people would never know the difficult childhood that I had financially, emotionally. We had very little money, living off my mom's disability support. There were times when our lights were cut, we were evicted, there was little money for food. Given that level of instability, people would be surprised to realize how far I've been able to come. I still love both of my parents very much, but I can also recognize their shortcomings. Their love for us was never a question, but I can reconcile, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Next one, people would never guess that I grew up in extreme poverty. By looking at me now, my family and I live very comfortable lives today, but we've had to hustle and fight for the past two decades to improve our socioeconomic class. We started in a one-bedroom apartment shared with another family. My parents worked 7 days a week to provide for us. So I was often left alone to fend for myself from the tender age of 8. I learned to survive and be resilient from a very young age. People don't see that now, but I'll always cherish those tough for you. Okay, great. Next one is, my hero has been and will always be my mom. She raised me in the heart of Brooklyn during a time of crack cocaine, murder, and poverty. With her love and help, I am the man I am today. Next one is, my hero is my mother. She was born into poverty in a village in Kenya as the youngest of 5. My mother is so hardworking and managed to get herself out of poverty and became a doctor in Kenya and was able to provide for her mom. Then she gave that all up to support my father's dreams. Then she became a doctor in Canada while having 3 young children while dealing with systematic racism. My mom sacrificed and worked so hard to give her family a better life and never faltered from her dreams. Next one we have is, my mom, as I get older, I understand how she gave up, or how much she gave up in having me and my older sister before the age of 18. I never wanted for anything. That's because my mom worked multiple jobs to ensure that never happened. When my pops died and left her with 5 kids, she kept going to get me into university with a full scholarship. She is the bomb.com. And I'm going to cut them off here, but I literally had 5 more of these that I could have read. It's ridiculous. I am not making fun of these stories. I'm not diminishing their power, but what is diminishing their power is the overabundance of them on the season. Like, they're obviously casting for these stories, which I think is silly. I can understand if like one person has some really cool story, but when everybody has the exact same story about how their parents came from nothing, they worked so hard, it becomes a story that is no longer super powerful and cool, and now it's just like the same as everybody else, and it becomes like more of a who has a more depressing story, which is not what I want to watch on TV. Maybe it is what you want to watch, but personally, that's just not what I sign up for when I want to go watch Survivor. And if you think that the repetitive and forced sob stories are cringy, how about the fact that the entire cast has the exact same woke political beliefs? And so not only is there no diversity in life experience, there's also no diversity in thought either. And so, it's fantastic. It's awesome. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, it's awful. If you don't believe me, here's a few examples of it. Again, I don't really want to burn your guys' time because, it just gets really repetitive after a while. So here's just just maybe like 3 or 4 examples. Okay, first one we have, what's something that we would never know from looking at you, how competitive I am, because I'm a small man and I'm gay and I'm Latino, people will always underestimate me. I love proving them wrong and I hate losing or being wrong. Next one, I'm truly a student of the game. I'm a subject matter expert in Survivor. Aside from having the tool belt to win, my motivations will push me through. I want to show black and brown girls that this game was also made for us too. As if it wasn't. It's just ridiculous. Next one is this guy had said his pet peeves were like small stuff, like people who complain about the cost of vet care, rudeness, feeding seeds to parrots, gym grunters, Joey from Friends. But then at the end, he basically ends it off with institutional racism, like a great transition, bro. It just loops in so well, bro. Then this next person says that their greatest accomplishment was writing in a newspaper about their university's equity and inclusion program and creating a better framework to support Black students at McMaster University, using their voice for change. And again, it's like all like some of this stuff, it's like, yeah, it's whatever. But when it becomes the entire cast thinking in the exact same mindset, that's where the issue comes. Some people misunderstand what I believe. It's not that I look at this and see it as a negative. It's that I look at this and then I look at the next quote and then the next quote and then the next quote and the entire cast. And it's just the same opinions over and over again. And for all of this talk about diversity of race in Survivor, diversity of thought, the brain, the most important and advanced thing that a human has, the brain, is so much more important than the skin of a human. And so for me, it's just puzzling that Survivor would value diversity in race or diversity in gender or diversity in orientation or ethnicity over diversity in literal thought, how your brain works. Like, this is just common stuff. The next quote is, I believe I'll win Survivor because I'm a social person. I've lived in diverse cities and also been in situations where I was the only Black person there. But in every situation, I thrived. In Survivor, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And yeah, so I will say there is some bright spots on this cast. Some of my favorites being John, Mike, Swati, Lindsay, and a few others. Like, I can even appreciate some of the wokesters just because I can tell that they're going to add to the cast, like your Chanels and your Dreas and your Omars and your Highs. But I feel like, to me, like, there are like a lot of people who, one, just have nothing, like no personality, don't bring anything to this season, and a lot of the big characters, quote unquote, look very unlikable. Aside from like John and Mike, the only two people who I can tell are going to be really big personalities. I think everybody else who is a big personality is unlikable. It's just straight up like we do not like them, like straight up. So to me, I think that that's an issue. You want your big characters to be somewhat likable or very dislikable, or like anti-heroes. But right now we have a bunch of just like anti-heroes who aren't really interesting but are more just like straight up dislikable. Like a Liana, to me, like I can deal with Shans because at least they like bring something to the show. But like you're like Lianas who are just straight up like a mean person, just like saying that you hate somebody's face and things like that. It's just like, it's stupid. It's just petty stuff. Like, it's childlike stuff. Like the fact that Liana's 3 years older than me, and yet she acts like she's 3 years younger than me, it's sad. And I feel like, to me, people like that who are immature, mean, just like, mean spirited, and just harmful to the show, I feel like that's not progress in the show, even if they are progressing as far as bringing more racial diversity to the show. I feel like, in my opinion, diversity in life experience, thought process, and location is so much more important than diversity in race, gender, or orientation. And that's just my personal opinion. And I feel like Survivor just isn't getting that. And I think it's interesting because I was so high on the 4041 cast going in, and then I was just so very wrong on that. And so maybe I'm way off, but my gut's telling me that this is just the case and that this cast is ass. It sucks. I don't know. There really isn't much more to explain. I mean, if you guys want me to make a part 2 or more videos, let me know down below. But to me, this argument is just like, there's not much else to it. And so for these reasons, I do think that it's a pretty appropriate question to ask if this may be the worst cast in Survivor history. And that's it, guys. I mean, I just wanted to get a video out. Daily content should be resuming pretty quickly, if not like right now, like if not like starting now. I will try to make a video every single weekday, or at least four days a week. Unlike most channels, I'm trying to put out as much content for you guys as possible, because I know that a lot of you, rely on the content to be coming, fast, and just a lot of it, and just try and talk my mind as much as possible. Will never stand down to the people who are, telling us to stop talking, stop disagreeing with me. I will never stand down to those people. If you have any video ideas, put them in the comments. If you see an idea that you like in the comments, like it so that I will see it. Again, guys, none of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm just a weird guy speaking into a weird microphone. And if that's all, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.